Tiffany Hinyard, former Dalton mayor and Thornton Township supervisor, takes the fifth rather than testify in court today.
For all of you people that thought that judge let her slide off the hook, think again. This is not over. We all got this wrong, and I'm going to break it all down for you and show you what's about to happen on Monday and my prediction of how this will end. What's up, guys? Carlton Flowers here with the Go Political channel. And today I spent 3 hours digging into this case because there is so much confusion and misunderstanding about what's going on, and a lot of people thinking that Tiffany Hinyard slid off the hook because the judge went easy on her. But you might be shocked once I go through all of this information that I dug up that clears up the confusion and all the things that even I had wrong. So in this video, we're going to look into the background of the judge, Caroline K. Moreland. I'm going to teach you a little bit about her background. Then we're going to talk about the specifics of the Edgar County Watchdog case. And then we're going to go over what happened on June the 6th when Tiffany appeared in court. Next, we're going to talk about this whole pleading the fifth thing. I've got the info on that. We're going to talk about this $1,000 per day fine, and then this whole ridiculous notion that Tiffany's attorney has come up with, giving these lame excuses why she can't comply with the FOIA request. Then I'll kind of fill you in on some of the other cases that people are getting this mixed up and confused with. And then we're going to talk about how this case is very serious because of certain reasons that you'll remember, and you'll be like, oh yeah, this is not going to work out well for her because of what I'm going to share with you. Then we're going to talk about the federal investigation implications, how this is going to affect the FBI case. And then we're going to look at this whole affidavit thing. Like, what the heck is this affidavit supposed to do? What's it all about? I'm going to clear that up once and for all and show you exactly what this thing is going to address, what this Bo Brenley clown is probably going to say, and then I'm going to tell you what's going to happen and why. So that's a lot that I'm going to cover, and I'm just going to dive straight in. So buckle your seatbelts, get out your popcorn, get a cup of coffee going so you can pay attention, because we're going to clear all this up. All right, so we are going to start with the judge involved in this case, because there's been a lot of chatter about this judge letting Tiffany slide off the hook. So who is the judge? It's Caroline K. Moreland. Got a lot of notes about this judge, so I'm just going to read to you what I uncovered. She's a Cook County Circuit Court judge. She first assumed office December 3rd, 2012, and she is elected. Her term ends on December 7th, 2026. She ran for a re-election in 2020, and she was retained with 74.9% of the vote. She is affiliated with the Democratic Party, and she ran unopposed in 2014. Now, Cook County is heavily under the control by the Democratic Party when it comes to judicial elections. That's just a fact. Do with it what you will. Caroline K. Moreland is a former county prosecutor. And Cook County judicial elections, okay, they are influenced by Democratic Party politics, and the Democratic Party usually backs most all of the candidates, like Caroline K. Moreland when she was a prosecutor and then got put into, I think she got appointed into a judge position temporarily, and then she was elected. So the party backs this woman. I'm not implying anything. Do with it what you will. Okay, next up. Let's talk about this Edgar County Watchdogs case. So the Edgar County Watchdogs is a nonprofit organization focused on transparency of elected officials. All right. Now, the Watchdogs sued the Village of Dalton back in February of 2024 for failing to provide documents for an FOIA or FOIA. I only say FOIA because some people don't know what FOIA is. Freedom of Information Act, FOIA or FOIA. They failed to provide the documents. So the documents that the Edgar County Watchdogs wanted were documents including credit card statements since October 1st of 2023, and this is a key, guys, pay attention, a specific document that Tiffany Henyard displayed at the January 2024 public meeting, and I covered this in the Dalton archives. We've got the video where she claimed that it proved that the trustees canceled a credit card. That's what this is all about. Now, the village partially complied by providing the credit card statements, but Tiffany didn't provide that document that she showed off and ran her mouth off about in that board meeting. That's what's going on. All right, so Judge Moreland held Tiffany Henyard in contempt of court on May 23rd of 2025 for repeated violations of court orders to produce documents. Now, this was specific to this one that is in question with this lawsuit, but later on I'm going to tell you about a bunch of others, okay? But let's just park that for now on the side. So she's facing a $1,000 per day fine starting on May the 30th until she complies, or if she submits an affidavit, which we'll get into later, that states that she just doesn't have the records. And there's a lot attached to that. It's not just here's a piece of paper saying, I don't have it. That's not going to work. Okay, so as we covered last week with the court appearance countdown, Tiffany Henyard did show up in court on June the 6th. So she was told she had to appear in person at the Daly Center to produce the documents or testify. Now, we thought she was going to ghost, but no, this is a lot more serious than what you guys even realize. She wasn't about to miss this. So her attorney, Bo Brenley, this is the attorney for this FOIA lawsuit, not to be confused with all these other cases, which I'll tell you about later. And I mentioned all these other court dates in prior videos. Bo Brenley is on this one. She's not getting an extension to find somebody else. Bo is handling this one. So, attorney Bo Brenley told the judge that Tiffany would not testify and that she would be citing her Fifth Amendment rights due to an ongoing federal investigation into possible misconduct during her tenure as mayor. Okay, so Brentley stated, hey, she just doesn't possess the document, and I'm going to file an affidavit that states as such on Monday, June the 9th to confirm. And according to Bo, that's just the end of it. Just give a little piece of paper, say we ain't got it. It's over, right? Hold your horses, buddy, because it's not that easy. So the Edgar County Watchdogs, they've got a lawyer by the name of Edward Coach Winehouse. That's his nickname. Now, Coach Winehouse was very skeptical, and he argued that her claim of not having the document was implausible, and the group intends on persisting until she produces it. They're not backing off, guys. They are not. All right, so what about this Fifth Amendment claim? Tiffany's invocation of the Fifth is tied to the federal investigation into her financial expenditures and potential misconduct. The Fifth Amendment protects against self-incrimination, all right? So since Tiffany is not a public official anymore, she can invoke the Fifth Amendment in civil proceedings for the reason that testifying could expose her to criminal liability. Very key point there, all right? So this is a legal strategy in cases involving parallel criminal investigations. That's where you see people pleading the fifth, when there's multiple cases going on and they don't want to get themselves screwed for testifying in this one that could end up being evidence in another. All right? Now, invoking the Fifth Amendment in a civil case like this FOIA lawsuit, this FOIA lawsuit, for those of y'all that like to say FOIA, this can lead to adverse inferences when we infer that she's only pleading the fifth because she's guilty of something, all right? So this could weaken her position in the future, even though it doesn't even resolve this contempt issue, all right? So there's consequences for this. It doesn't mean just plead the fifth, shut up, and it all goes away. It doesn't happen. Okay, so this $1,000 fine deal, let's clear up something about that. Judge Moreland affirmed the $1,000 a day fine, and Brenley was allowed to file the affidavit by Monday, okay, to clarify Tiffany's claim of not possessing the document in question, which could erase the fine, all right? Because that fine is actually something that is forcing her to produce the information. It's not really like a straight up penalty. So Brenleys Strategy is basically that he's claiming this whole case focuses unfairly on Tiffany. And he's just dismissing the significance of this missing document that Tiffany showed in that board meeting where she was running off at the mouth. And so he's just calling it one piece of paper from a year ago as a defense. Weak defense.
No idea what that document was. She's going back to some board meeting where they say she held up a single piece of paper. I don't know how and could expect her to remember what that was, given how many meetings there have been and how much chaos there was in Dalton.
There has been no extension giving in this case regarding that piece of paper. That was pretty much misinformation. So people are getting this confused with other cases. There's no extension in this one. All right, so what are these other cases that people are getting all this stuff mixed up with? Well, you got the liquor license lawsuit, and that involves Solomon, the attorney that withdrew, who was replaced by Menotti Jenkins. And this case is overseen by Judge Cecilia Horan. All right. That case has been rescheduled to July 2nd. That's where people are confusing this one. Totally separate case. We've also got the federal grand jury investigation that's still going to be going on. And then we also have the whole eviction case, among other cases. Now, here's a very, very interesting thing that people are not considering. For those of you that think she's going to get off scot-free here, there's something working against her. What is it? It's the outstanding FOIA or FOIA complaints. Listen to this. The Illinois Attorney General has received over 50 complaints about ignored or denied FOIA requests from Dalton between January 2021 and April of 2024. And over 30 complaints from Thornton Township between January of 2022 and August of 2024. So what does that mean? It means that we have a pattern of non-compliance that has been solidly established. And this just underscores the whole significance of this current FOIA or FOIA request or FOIA case. All right? Now, the federal investigation implications are something that we got to think about here.
During court, Hinyard was asked to testify, but with an ongoing FBI investigation looking into questionable spending and claims that she used her government power to retaliate against people she perceived as opponents during her time as Dalton mayor and Thornton Township supervisor, Brenley advised her to plead the fifth.
All right, so we've got this ongoing investigation that ain't going away that is regarding Tiffany's financial expenditures, which includes subpoenas to Dalton Village Hall and Thornton Township. And this adds to the complexity of the current FOIA case. So her invocation of the Fifth Amendment reflects concerns that producing documents or testifying could expose her to criminal liability. yet another reason why y'all need to realize that this federal case ain't going away. Because if she's shutting up now, she knows that something's going to be held against her. So this is the whole strategic move advised by this dingbat Brenley to protect her best interest. Okay, so what's going to happen here? How's this going to conclude? On Monday, they got to show up, and there's an affidavit that's going to be handed off to the judge. The judge is either going to accept it, all right, and that would erase the $1,000 per day continuing fines, or the judge is going to say insufficient, continue the fines, and possibly escalate penalties. Okay, so let's get on to what this affidavit is supposed to be all about. What's going to be in it? Well, the purpose of the affidavit is that it is intended to satisfy the court's order by formally declaring that Tiffany does not have this requested document that she shot her mouth off about in that public meeting. And it will presumably, because I don't think it's going to, it'll presumably outline the steps that she took to search for it as per the March 5th, 2025 court order. So if the judge accepts it, it could resolve that contempt issue. But if the judge says this is inadequate, well, the fines will continue, the contempt of court proceedings will continue, and there could be further punishment. All right, so to purge the fine, she's got to demonstrate a good faith effort to comply. And that's what this whole affidavit aims to do, is good faith effort. And I think it's going to fail, and I'll tell you why. Okay, so let's talk about FOIA, F-O-I-A, Freedom of Information Act obligations. So under the Illinois FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, which is 5 ILCS 140, for those of you that want to look it up, public officials must provide responsive records or certify their non-existence. Courts take these FOIA violations seriously, especially when officials repeatedly fail to comply, like Tiffany does. Judge Moreland has the sole discretion to evaluate the affidavit's sufficiency, and she will assess whether it meets the court's requirement, like the detailing of the search efforts. Okay, it's got to appear credible. But with Tiffany's prior non-compliance record being considered, she's in some hot water, okay? That's why I don't think she's sliding off of this hook. She's not going to wiggle her way out of it. Now, here's what this thing's got to address and why I think it's going to fail. She's got to identify the steps that she took to search for the responsive document, the one she shot her mouth off about. She's got to go through all record-keeping systems that were searched, all of them. She has to show how she searched all of those systems, including any and all specific village personnel that she consulted to find it. It has to state that Tiffany does not possess the document, and the specifics of the search efforts must include emails, files, village servers, and all of the personnel that she contacted. That's a lot, guys. That's a whole lot. Now, consider this. Here's another thing that she ain't going to wiggle out of, and why I think this is not over. She must be sworn under oath, and false statements could expose her to perjury charges. That's right, perjury. That's some serious stuff. So the interesting thing is you got these vague assertions that Brenley gave, such as, well, she just doesn't remember, she just doesn't have it. It's one piece of paper from a year ago. These are very, very vague assertions. They probably won't meet the court requirements for a thorough search description. It's just not gonna work. So here are the possibilities of what the judge is going to come back and say or do, what the response could be. First off, the judge could accept the affidavit and stop the fine if it convincingly demonstrates that Tiffany conducted a diligent search. How likely do you think she's going to produce proof that she was diligent in the search? Do you think that's going to happen? I don't. Now, the other possibility is that the judge could reject the affidavit and continue the fines and escalate the punishment, citing her former lack of complying with FOIA requests. Now, if that happens, she's going to be at $10,000 as of tomorrow, and then it just keeps on going. And then, like I said, the judge could escalate penalties if the affidavit is found to be deliberately false. Now, worst case scenario, it could result in a body attachment. And what is that? That's an arrest warrant. I'd love to see that happen, even though the chances of an arrest warrant are low. Okay, so now back to this Fifth Amendment. That's not going to really protect her from self-incrimination if she doesn't meet the FOIA requirements. So the state of Illinois courts rarely jail people in civil FOIA cases, but repeated violations, those usually lead to stiff punishment. So she's not going to get off the hook, even if she does not get arrested. So none of this is going away. All it's going to do is just feed the fuel of the fire for the federal investigation. Now, hey, here's a twist. Here's a twist. And this is for all of you folks that thought that the judge is going soft because she's a Democrat and holding the party lines, which was what I thought. And I think I was wrong. Why? Well, guess what, guys? Judge Moreland is the one who ruled in dismissing the lawsuit against Thornton Township in January that got pretty much thrown in the trash can for procedural flaws. That was the case that Tiffany brought against Thornton Township. Judge Moreland is the one who threw that case in the trash can. So there's no guarantee that she's just sucking up to Tiffany and trying to protect her when she's the one that rejected her just last January. How about that? Okay, let's wrap this up into my prediction. This is what I think is going to happen. That affidavit's going to get rejected. Why? Because of her track record of non-compliance. They can't come up with an excuse. They will have to make crap up. They will have to pull something out of their rear end to prove that she went through all of those steps that I told you about before to show that she made a diligent search. It ain't going to happen. I don't believe it. And we're going to find out tomorrow. I also predict that the Edgar County Watchdog Group is going to keep the heat on. And if they do, I'm telling you what, that judge is probably going to allow them to depose the village staff and access all the records to verify or nullify Tiffany's claim that her little sheet of paper that she showed in that meeting when she was shooting off her mouth. See, here's the thing, guys. Her mouth is what's going to get her into trouble. She's too dumb to realize that the stuff that she has said that's in the records, it's on video. How many times have I told you that there's gold in them thar hills? All the evidence you need in the world is right there in the YouTube archives, in the Dalton board meetings. How many times have I showed you videos that just expose the evidence from what Tiffany says right from her own mouth, straight from the horse's mouth? It's all right there. It's all right there. So, I'm thinking that there's going to be another order once this is denied. Once they deny the affidavit, there's going to be another order. And that's going to come probably the week of the 16th of June. We're going to hear about it, all right? And they're going to say, hey, you got to provide more evidence. The fines are going to continue on. And then at that hearing, they're probably going to talk about punishment. They're going to talk about escalation. Yeah, this is going to get nasty. So post in the comments and let me know what you think. I'm going to ask you this question. Did I clear up any confusion that you had before about what's going on? Do you still think that she's going to wiggle off the hook? Do you still think the judge went soft on her to this point? Let me know. I'm very curious. I'm very curious to know. And then we're going to be watching tomorrow to see what happens. And I will be reporting back to you. and let you know what that judge says after this ridiculous attorney supplies this affidavit with his excuses about why that document in question does not exist. So you better tick the notification bell, like and subscribe. You don't want to miss this next one. And shout out to all of the new subscribers. I'm so glad to have you. Also, a shout out to all of you who have donated to the channel, helping me to defray the cost of producing these videos for you. Shout out to John Luna, the first subscriber to the Go Political channel. He has always been a huge supporter. He donated a super thanks of $25. Thank you, John Luna. Shout out to Cafe of Knowledge for the big fat $10 super thanks. Shout out to Mike from Illinois. Thank you, Mike, longtime listener and subscriber, for the $2 super thanks. And shout out to new members. There are several, but in the last video, Skeeter Girl and Letty O, 2 new members to the Go Political channel, and I will start some new members only videos just for you. So that's coming soon. Thank you all. I got so much more to bring you, but I'm going to shut up because I'm tired. This has been a lot of information, but I'm here for it. Are you here for it? That's all I have for right now. This is Carlton, and I'm out.